All right, so we've just finished editing together our cinematic cutscene here, and now it is time to start adding some transitions in and out of the cutscene, as well as a bunch of other effects like sounds, particles, and some camera shake. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to add our transition in, and this is going to be especially useful if you're using this cutscene for a game. So a cutscene like this, when you have these shot tracks, if you start playing this in-game, the in-game camera is immediately going to be set to this viewpoint. So it can be really nice to smoothly transition into these shots, into your cutscene, and out of it as well, just to work a little bit better with your gameplay and make everything a little bit more polished. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a new track, and we're going to add a fade track. So we're just going to add this in here, and at the point where our animation starts, we're going to set our fade to 1. And what this does is this just fades it in and out of black, and we can actually adjust the color that we're fading to here. If we go to our edit section, we can adjust this color here, as you can see, the fade color, but we're just going to stick with black since that's just what you do. That's what you use. So let's go back about, let's go back 15 frames here, and then we're going to set this to 0. So now you can see if we're just like down here chilling or something, you know, playing the game, and the cutscene starts playing, you'll see it fades in, and I guess we need to fade it out as well, so we'll go forward 15 frames and set it to 0. So now we have our keyframe in to our cutscene. So once again, we can go down here, you know, we're just playing the game, maybe we walk over into this section of the map, and then the cutscene plays, and it begins showing all of our shots. So next we'll just transition out, which will be super easy. So basically we're just going to do the exact same thing. We're just going to go to the end here, and on the last frame we're going to set it to 1, and then we'll go a few frames before, set it to 0, and a few frames after we'll set it back to 0. Let's take a look at that transition there. I think since this is kind of an action-packed part and the enemy is running forward, I think we could maybe even do by shortening this a bit, making it a bit of a quicker animation, and maybe moving it forward even. Might move this forward, adjust this a little, and bring our the end of that shot back a little. And I think that looks pretty good, actually. So that completes our basic transitions through a fade track. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add some camera shakes. So to do this, we're actually going to need to get a little bit tricky, a little bit advanced. But it's okay. It's okay. It's not that bad. It's I feel very confident in all of you. So let's go to our boss cutscene, and let's right-click in here, and we're going to add a blueprint class. So we're going to click this, and we're going to go to this drop down here that says all classes. We're going to click on that. We're going to search for camera shake, and we're just going to go down and select this one here that says matinee camera shake. There's a whole bunch of other ones here, but we're just going to use this one right here. So we're going to select this and just go like so, and we'll just call this handheld shake. So for some of the shots, we might want some kind of a little bit of shaky cam, you know, nothing crazy, but just a little bit of a dynamic feel, just to kind of make things feel a little bit more realistic. So we can just open this up here, and then we can let me bring this over onto screen, and this might look complicated, but it's not. So all that we need to do is set some parameters over here on this sidebar. So we've got our FOV oscillation, location oscillation, and rotation oscillation, as well as some oscillation duration and blend in, blend out times. That's basically all that we need to pay attention to. Don't need to worry about this or this. We can really just focus on these, and I think we'll probably just focus on the location and rotation oscillation. So let's just open all of these up here, and what we can do is we can just add a little bit of an amplitude and frequency for each of these. So basically what this is going to do is if we add this camera shake to one of our shots, what it's going to do is it's going to apply rotation in, the pitch, yaw, roll, and it's going to adjust the location slightly depending on these values. So let's say we set the amplitude really high on the pitch, and we set the frequency really, really high as well. Then what it's going to do is it's going to rotate the camera back and forth on the pitch very quickly. If we set this to be really low, let's say we have an amplitude of like 0.5 or maybe 0.2, just something like that. And then we set the frequency fairly low as well, maybe something like 3 or 4, maybe 5. If we set this on all of these, say 0.3, 5, 0.3, 5, and then if we apply this to one of our cameras, let's just go to this one here, for example, shot 2. Let's go in here and let's try adding this to our camera. So what we'll do is we'll select our cinematic camera here. We're going to go to track, and we're going to go to camera shake, and we're going to select handheld camera shake. And this is going to apply this right in here. So one last thing actually that we are going to need to do is we're going to need to go back into our handheld shake here. And we're actually going to want to adjust the oscillation duration, because right now it's set to 0, which means it's going to play for exactly 0 seconds. So we can bring this up. I'm just going to bring this up pretty high to 60 seconds. Obviously that's longer than any of our shots, but it gives us more than enough room to work with. And then we can, since this is just for our cameras, we could probably just set, and then we can just set the blend in and blend out time to something like 0.2. Since these are first, since this is for a cinematic, you could even probably set this to 0. Doesn't matter too much. But let's just do that and hop back in here now. And now you can see the camera shakes around as we move. Pretty cool, right? And so obviously this shake seems a little bit intense. So what we can do here is we can adjust this, obviously. We can bring the amplitude down to maybe like 0.1. And then let's also, to make this a little bit more realistic, rather than using a sine wave to determine the randomness, we can use Perlin noise, which is going to be a little bit more random. It's going to be less uniform with each shake. So now you can see if we go back in here, you can see we've got something a little bit more realistic. It's still maybe a little bit too shaky. So what we could do is we can maybe bring down the frequency a little bit. I'm going to bring these down to 3 on all of these. And I think I'll bring the amplitude down to like 0.07, just so we get just a little bit of shake here. And obviously you can adjust this to your liking to make it however you want, but I think that's pretty good. I think that actually looks pretty nice right there. And then we can just apply this to the rest of our cameras. So let's go into our other shots. So let's go, we can go back to master boss fight. If you didn't catch that, by the way, you can open up all of these sub shots from our master shot here by double clicking. And then we can go back to the master by just clicking up here. So let's hop back into our first thing, our first shot, and let's go to our camera, and let's track a camera shake. Once again, we're just going to use the handheld shake, which might, you might not want to use a handheld shake for, I'm not liking the handheld shake too much on this, on the crane here. Hopefully nobody's sitting up on a crane holding a camera. So I'm actually going to remove that one. Just play around with this stuff and see what looks good, what doesn't. But let's hop into shot 3 here and see how it looks. So we can just go to camera component. Once again, camera shake, handheld shake. Drop that right on in there. And just see how that looks. And I think that's actually not bad. I think I'm okay with that there. We'll just save this. I think I'm even not liking the frequency too much. I'm going to bring it down even more, maybe 1.5, something like that. A lot of this, it's just a matter of tweaking things to your liking. and just playing around with numbers until stuff looks right. You know, sometimes it takes a little time to get it all looking how you want and how you imagine it, and that's okay. All right, that's pretty good. I like that shake very much. It's a little bit more subtle, but it's enough that you know, it adds a little bit of a dynamic nature to these shots, which I really like. All right, and then we got the last shot here, which yeah, we can maybe apply a shake here as well. I think that would probably look pretty good. Let's just find out. So we'll go to camera shake here, handheld shake. Just add that in and stretch it out to fit the sequence, and I think that looks quite nice. It's very subtle on this shot, but ultimately that's really all we want, just an extra little subtle effect. So that'll be good for that. And then, you know, I think we should also add one more camera shake right here where the character charges. I think it should get a little bit more intense and shake a little bit. I think that would look really nice. So let's do that. Let's actually just go to our folder here. And by the way, there's another hotkey here that I might as well mention. If you want to really quickly open up your content folder here, you can either click this content drawer, or you can hit Control plus space, and that'll automatically pull this up or put it down. So what we can do here is we can go to handheld shake. Let's right click this and duplicate it. And let's just call this, I'll just call this shake more, because in this one there is more shake. Yes, naming is it comes naturally to me, clearly. So let's go to our rotation oscillation here, and let's just bring all these stats up a bit. So let's go frequency of like maybe 3, amplitude of, let's try 0.1, and let's just apply this to all of these. So go 3, 3, 3, and let's adjust the blend-in time. Actually, you know, 0.2 is probably fine for this. So let's just save this, and then let's add this one into shot 4 along with our other stuff, and we'll start it right when the boss starts coming a little bit closer here. So let's go once again to our camera actor, and we're going to track camera animate, or sorry, camera shake, and oh, it says shake more. I completely misspelled it even. But in any case, we're going to take our shake more animation, and we're going to put this in, and you can see it it kind of starts playing, but it's still pretty subtle. So we're gonna go jack up those stats a bit more on this one. So let's bring the amplitude up to, say, 0.4, 0.5, something like that. See how this looks. That's actually pretty good right there. You know, I liked that. I think we could maybe even turn up the frequency a little bit. We could maybe try 5, 5, 4, something like that. Let's give this a quick save. And there we have that. We have it. That's a pretty nice shake right there. We could maybe start it a little bit later. And ultimately, I think that looks quite nice. So now we have added all of our camera shakes. We've got kind of a nice handheld shake here, as well as in this shot. And then here we've combined two, a handheld shake as well as kind of a swooping shake for the character rushing towards the camera. All right, so next I'm going to show you how to add a couple of sound effects to this whole cinematic. So what we're going to need to do is first import some sounds. Now you can get sounds from all kinds of places all over the internet. I found a few sounds on freesound.org that are licensed under CC0, so I'm going to provide a download for these in the course, so you can download them and use these sounds in your own projects if you want to. But you know, you can find sound effects anywhere else as well, any other website or asset pack. And so to get those into your project, what you're going to want to do is just import to a specific folder, you can either right click and select to import, or you can just hit the import button right here. And now we can just locate the files, I should say, that we're going to be using. So I've got these three here. I've got a cinematic sort of hit, a drone, and then just a soft wind sound effect. So I'm just going to open up these, and they are now in the project right here. You can listen to these. Alrighty, so I've just adjusted my recording settings, so you should now be able to hear all of the volume here, as you should. And now we can start adding these sound effects into our sequence. So let's hit Control Space to hop out of our content browser here and back into our sequence. So let's be in our master sequence if you aren't already. And let's just go to the beginning of our cinematic. So let's go here to the track tab. Let's hit that and add an audio track. So we're just going to select that there and add an audio, and let's just add our cinematic drone first. So I'm going to add this in here, and you can see it's a little bit too loud, and you can see it just it cuts off here at the end. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to animate the volume. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go to the very beginning here, and we're going to hit this drop down, and we are going to set the volume to 0, and we're going to add a keyframe there. And then let's go forward by a few seconds, and let's have it so that it fades into kind of full volume right here at kind of the boss reveal. So we'll fade it up to, we'll go up to maybe 0.6, and we'll just see how this sounds here. See, it kind of slowly fades in. I'm liking that pretty well. I think that'll work quite nicely. So let's add in our next sounds here. Or actually, let's fade this out at the end here before we get into that. So let's actually fade it down here from the point where enemy is about to attack. And then we'll just fade it out for a few seconds here, just down to 0. And that should work quite nicely. So I'll just save that there, and now let's add in some more of those sounds. So let's hit add audio, and let's add our cinematic intro. Now this one we're going to put right when we reveal the boss, and this is clearly far too loud, so I'm going to turn this down to maybe 0.1. We'll try 0.1 for now and just add a keyframe on that. I think that's a pretty good volume, so I'll just line it up now. So we'll just put it kind of about here, and I'll just drag it just like so. And now we can see we've got a nice cinematic reveal for our boss character up here. A nice cinematic reveal. Alright, so then let's just add in our last sound, which is a wind sound. So I'll just search for the wind sound, soft wind right there. And we can see in our waveform, the wind sound kicks in at about here, so I'll move this forward towards the beginning. And we'll go to the first frame here and key the volume at 0. And then we'll go forward a bit, maybe to right about here, and we'll bring the volume up to maybe 10. Let's see how that sounds. I'm thinking that's a little too loud and it fades in a bit too quick. So I'm going to bring this out a little ways and bring it down. We'll try maybe 6. You know, that's not bad. I think that's pretty good, and I think what we'll do is we'll just start fading it down once these other sounds kind of start kicking in. So we'll fade it down to maybe 4 here, and then right here we'll start fading it out entirely. So I'll add another key here, and then by the end frame we will have faded it out to 0. Very nice. And then if you wanted to get complicated, you know, you could start adding sounds, obviously, when the boss character rushes. That's, if I was making this for a real game, I would definitely do that, but I just wanted to add in some sounds here just so you guys can get an idea of how this part of the process works. It's, once again, very simple. Just keying in some values. You know, you can also control the pitch, which controls both the you know, the pitch tone, but also the playback speed of the sound, so just something to keep in mind. But that is about it for sounds. So let's see, there isn't a whole lot left to do here, is there? Now we've added our sounds, we've added our camera shake, and we've added our transitions. The last thing that we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to add some particles, so let's get into that. Alright, so for the last thing that we're going to be adding to this animation is I'm going to be showing you how to activate particle systems and other effects systems in your sequence. So with the character here, with this asset, there happen to be a bunch of associated particle systems, and so I'm just going to grab one of them here. I found this one that looked kind of cool, so I'll throw this in. And this is a legacy cascade particle system. So this is an older version of Unreal Engine's particles, but they still work really well in newer versions. So, but you can keep in mind you can do this stuff with the newer particle systems, with Niagara as well as the older stuff. So just depends on what you have available if you're using assets and you know, what you plan on creating. So if you have a particle system in here, you know, let's just try and get this placed real nicely here. Let's kind of thinking we could just place this effect just kind of right behind this character, and we'll just play this particle right before the character charges, and I think that's probably a fine placement right there. And let's hop into our shot view, and we want to activate it probably right about here, somewhere in here. So let's drag our particle system into our track, and you know, actually what we might even do is we might as well just drag it into the track for this specific shot. That way, if we were to adjust this shot a little bit, it would adjust the particle timing with it. So let's go back here and find our particle right here. We'll just drag it on in. And what we're going to do is we're going to track effects system toggle track. And so we're just going to add this here, and we can set our particle to activate, deactivate, or trigger. And we're going to use activate. So this is going to make it so that our particle will activate as soon as we add a keyframe right here. So just like so, you can now see when we play, it activates the particle system right here, and it shows the length of the particle system even, which is pretty cool. And we can adjust this however we like. And I think something like, we might even move this forward a little bit more as soon as the character attacks. Right there, that looks pretty nice. So we can just add that in there, and basically just call that good. One other thing that we should probably do is we should select our emitter here and go into the details panel and find auto activate. So if we scroll down, we'll see activation and auto activate. We're just going to disable that, and this way, as soon as we play the game, you know, if, like, let's say you this is a game that you could run around in and stuff, this way the particle won't activate as soon as we start playing the game, and will rather only activate once it's activated in the sequence. Alright, so with that, you now have all the information you need to create awesome cutscenes just like this one. You know how to create cameras, you know how to move cameras, animate stuff, animate characters, do transitions, add sound effects, all that amazing stuff. And yeah, so hopefully you found that helpful. In the next few videos, I'm going to go over ways that you can activate your sequence, so ways that you can play it through Blueprint if you're using this as a cutscene in a game. very excited to get into that stuff. So hopefully you are too, and I will see you in those next few videos.